Well, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I wanted to go over the potential Bitcoin strategic reserve with a full prediction on how much the government will be acquiring, how much do we have right now through confiscation, and what is the strategy when it comes to cryptocurrency. Can cryptocurrency help us get out of this debt situation to where 37 trillion, we can see it right here, strategic asset fund. It's not necessarily the amount because other countries have a lot of debt. We have the most out of any country. But in terms of servicing it, it becomes a problem because it's around $1 trillion in terms of our budget that we have to put forth to servicing the debt currently. And it's only going to rise. And Trump's got his new bill and they're trying to say, oh, it's going to raise. Well, there's some experts that now have come out and said, well, it might not raise it. We'll see what happens I mean, there's going to be a lot of economic activity that gets spurred by the tax cuts. I mean, this is the largest tax cuts for the middle class in history. This is serious stuff that Trump's doing. I'm not saying raising the debt is a good thing, but Trump now has said, well, unlike Democrats who have this weird Neanderthal, they hate all crypto, we're going to be proactive. We're going to create a strategic reserve. We've already got 200K Bitcoin through confiscated funds, through the Silk Road and other places. So why don't we really create some type of system? And David Sachs, the crypto czar, has come out and said, well, yeah, we might decide to actually buy more Bitcoin, but they say they have to do it through selling other assets. Probably selling gold is what I would do. And I know people like gold, but I mean, we've got around $700 billion in gold. We can sell some of that to buy more Bitcoin. They want to get to 5% of the total supply. So look at this crypto debt elimination. Can it happen? We'll see, but it's very hard because we just have so much debt, let's be honest. But let's take a look at this. So the number one asset, we know it's Bitcoin. The US government already has 200K. That's around $22 billion. If you factor in what's the current price of Bitcoin, we'll take a look at this. See, this is the big issue with Bitcoin right now. And this is a typical government thing. We're going to buy at the top. But honestly, this is like the only way we could probably acquire this because there's no way the government would buy an asset like this if it was down, back in 2022 when it was around 15, 16K. But I mean, yes, we're buying at the top. The current market cap is around $2.1 trillion. When it comes to the Bitcoin market cap, the comparison I would make is gold. That's the only thing I would compare it to. Not Nvidia, not Microsoft, but gold. Gold is at 22 trillion. So Bitcoin can do a 10x to reach gold's market cap. Remember, Bitcoin is deflationary. It cannot be inflated. It's impossible. Its total supply is 21 million, or that's its max supply. Its total supply is under 20. That's through burning. But they say people only have access to around 17.5 million Bitcoin because about 2 million of it is lost in cold storage that can't be accessed and it's just gotten lost on exchanges. So really Bitcoin, it can only be deflationary. You can only burn it. You can't create more of it. I know there's people saying, well, with these quantum computers now, they can mimic it and hack into different people's cold storage. That's all fear mongering. It's all anti-Bitcoin propaganda. Listen, I've been in crypto since 2017. I know people said Bitcoin, it's terrible. Now it's all the Gen X people. It's all the boomers. They say Bitcoin, it's great. Well, now they say it's 105K. You should have said it back in 2017. I got into it. Bitcoin was around $2,000 or $3,000. I remember looking at it on Coinbase. Now I've never bought Bitcoin, but I'm just saying. And the thing is I only buy memes. So when I give my portfolio for the US, I have no bias because I don't have any of these coins. But the point here is, yeah, we're buying at the top. If you believe in the 4-year cycle, I actually am starting to not believe in the 4-year cycle anymore after this year because I think Bitcoin is such a widely accepted commodity. And now with the ETFs and all of it, I mean, it's used by everyone. It's totally legit. Bitcoin is. It is the literal digital gold, and it will only develop even more. And that's why I think Bitcoin, the problem is it's already at a $2 trillion market cap. How many X's can it really do if the government decides to buy? What would it be? It would be a major investment. It'd be about $85 billion if you want to get to 5% of the total supply, because we have 1% of the total supply just through confiscation. But what I'm saying here is when you look at this, yes, we're buying at the top if they made an investment. But the investment would come from selling gold or selling federal land or something like that. That's where a lot of this money would come from. They can't print more money to buy Bitcoin. They said they weren't going to do that. And so we'll see what happens if they do decide to buy more Bitcoin. I think they should buy more. It is a little bit of an issue, though, in terms of where Bitcoin is right now, considering it is basically an all-time high. Buy 800K more Bitcoin to achieve 5% of the total supply. Now, I would actually want them to get more than 5% of the supply, but they want to, this is part of the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Act. This is the Bitcoin bill. You hear about it. They say, well, we want to get to 5%. So if you want to get to 5% and it's at, what is it, 105 right now? This is based off the calculation. It was at 110K. You've got to make an investment of 85 billion and you've got a stockpile of around 1 million, which if you factor in the amount that's been burned already and the amount that's inaccessible, there's probably only about 17 million Bitcoin that, if that are out there right now. So you're arguing that that's potentially 7 or 8% of the supply, not even 5%. So it might be more because some of it's locked for good and it'll never be sold. And a lot of it's all hung up in ETFs and all this. So a lot of this is just completely stable. That's why I think Bitcoin's going to be a lot less volatile in terms of it going down. It's going to be similar to gold to where it's just an upward trajectory. The problem is, how can we really get another 5 or 6x out of it because of where its current market cap is? Does it have it? I think it does. I think people are switching to digital. It's the digital gold variant. I mean, people are going to start using it more and more. You don't even have to use it. You just have to store it anyways. But you can see one Bitcoin. This is a projection. Let's say, for example, one Bitcoin equals $1 million. The total amount that we would have would be 550 billion. That's if one Bitcoin equals $1 million. So what would that be from here? If it, I mean, that's about I believe that would be around a $20 trillion market cap if that happens. So that's concerning, honestly. If you're talking about this paying for the debt, this is like best case scenario. Bitcoin does about a 10x, a 9x. Well, it'd be basically a 10x, 100K to a million. And we only get out of it 400 billion. We're trying to eliminate the debt. That's not even a single yearly interest payment. So see the issue with this debt, we have to stop spending and really cut out a lot of the entitlement fraud, but I don't think they need to do it at some point. They're going to have to. They're going to have to. Bitcoin current market cap is 2.2 trillion. The comparison is gold, 22.5 trillion. So can it do a 10x to get to gold? Can it pass gold? Well, I've seen projections to where they say, yeah, it'll get to about 30 or 40 trillion. And I'm not even just saying that. I don't even own Bitcoin. I never bought it. I'm saying this is what it is. It has become digital gold. If you believe in the 4-year cycle, well, then you say, no, this probably isn't going to happen. Because the 4-year cycle says we're probably only going to go to 150, maybe 200K, and then we're going to go through a 3-year period or a 2-year period of downturn. But I think it's going to be a lot more stable. I don't think, because we saw Bitcoin go all the way to 69, 70K, then it tanked to 15K. If it goes to 150, 200K, I don't see it going back down to 60, 70K. It's just too stable. There's too much Bitcoin locked at this point that people are not going to touch for decades. That's just how I feel about the asset right now. But I mean, I think Bitcoin is going to start being, the price action of it is going to mature with less volatility and more just upward movement, very similar to gold. But the problem with gold is you're not going to get the 2 or 3x. It's just, I mean, what has it done, like a 3x in the last 15 years? It's just 10 years. It's just, you're not going to get the gain there. So Bitcoin is the first asset of the strategic reserve. Everybody knows it. You've got Ethereum, tons of liquidity, massive layer 1 used. They already have 60K Ethereum, 150 million. That's really not much. Buy 5.9 million. That's Ethereum. That's not dollars. 5.9 million coins to achieve 5% of the total supply. It's an investment of 15 billion. Honestly, this is just hypothetical. You might just want to dump that all into Bitcoin. The problem is Ethereum has really underperformed Bitcoin, but Ethereum's market cap's a lot lower. Bitcoin's current market cap, 2.2 trillion. Ethereum is about 6x less than that, 320 billion. But I would certainly own Ethereum. A lot of people are down on Ethereum. The price action's been really bad, although recently it rebounded a bit. I still think it can hit 10K this cycle, hopefully more. But Ethereum would be part of it. Solana would be part of it. The government I'm sure the government has Solana, but officially they're saying they have no Solana, at least in their strategic reserve, because their strategic reserve is only based on confiscation. They haven't made a single investment into buying crypto, supposedly. I mean, the thing that I was thinking, you'd think they would be DCAing into Bitcoin. I mean, this is a legitimate asset, at least over the past 4 or 5 years. Are they not disclosing that to us? Did they just not buy any? It seems ridiculous. Maybe they did and they're not telling us. I don't know. But I mean, when you've got like the asset stockpile the U.S. government has, you'd think they would at least dip into the digital currencies just to make sure they had 2 or 3% of the supply. I mean, come on, DCA into it every month. You've got the money to do it. You can redistribute. But I mean, the last administration probably sold everything, knowing how negative against crypto they were. Solana, I think will do well. Solana's current market cap is only 90 billion. This is a coin that could 10x, 12x. I mean, these coins are really high in market cap. But realistically, I know everyone is just focused on Bitcoin, but I would also throw Ethereum, Solana. These are all extremely high cap, very normie coins. But if you're the government, you have to kind of stay to these. And then the other ones, obviously XRP, maybe the most normie imaginable. Chainlink, Cardano, ADA, and then some other coins, a privacy coin, BNB. I know Trump is big on BNB. Trump has a stable coin. It's called USD1. It's on BNB. And I'm not sure what Trump's doing with the World Liberty Financial is what it is. It's some group. I don't know if he's going to have an official coin called that or what that is. He launched his meme coin. I think it's at like 2 billion market cap right now, his meme coin. But these would be other ones to own to where you could very easily buy 5% of the coin. They're lower in market cap. They're not going to cost you much. And then these are long shots. A lot of layer one, some AI coins that I think would be interesting if you're creating an actual portfolio to where you give yourself $100 billion to invest into crypto. These are other ones. The problem is with any of these coins, some of these coins like a render, some of these coins market cap is like $2 billion. If we're talking about eliminating the debt, the coin's market cap can't even pay for 3% of the entire market cap. Cannot even pay for 3% of the interest on the debt. It's just not going to happen. The debt is too much. And then there's this idea, the U.S. creating a coin. So Trump passed an executive order earlier this year after he got in, saying that you couldn't create a centralized digital currency. This is not a currency. This would be a decentralized coin, but it would be backed by the government. I don't think they could do something like this because there'd be too much volatility to it. And so there'd be too much fraud involved with it. So I don't think they could really execute something like this, but you could definitely make serious money off of doing this 100% if they did something like this. But again, if you only own like 30% of the supply because it has to be decentralized, it's hard because you don't want to deal with that much volatility if the U.S. government has their name backed to it. But you could do certain things in terms of staking rewards and possibly redefining Social Security and changing Social Security completely using the blockchain. And Social Security already should be reformed. You should be able to see your money and the money should follow you the way it currently is. But I mean, there's a problem to where they're going to have to totally redo Social Security. I don't know. I mean, with Social Security, it's the payroll tax 6%, and we take in 6% from the employees. We're losing money on that. We're taxing people and losing money. It's crazy because there's not enough workers for the people we have to pay, the retirees. But it's insane that we are taxing people at a 6% rate on something that we're losing $100 billion every year because we don't have the funds to pay for the people. And we still have the fund, but the fund is running out. We're exhausting the fumes on, they should have changed this a while ago just based off of, this is really just people living longer. So they're talking about, well, technically based on when it was implemented, people lived to X age. So the retirement age was 65. Now, if we bump the retirement age to 68 or 69, it's the same thing because people are living longer. But I mean, we're the United States of America. Are we really going to do that? Are we really going to delay retirement for middle-class people by 4 or 5 years? I think that's unacceptable. There has to be some other answer. You can't do that because they're talking about delaying it for another 4 or 5 years, and that could save us a lot of money. With Social Security, we're only losing. It is annoying, but the problem is it's the paradox of how do we tax people 6% and we lose money on it? That's what it is. But in terms of the other thing I was thinking is, maybe they could do something with the, what is it called? Stargate. They've got this huge AI initiative that all the top AI are in on. OpenAI, Elon Musk, Grok, Optimus, the robotics. Now Musk has said, well, we can't eliminate the debt. We just have to produce and get a higher growth rate, GDP. And that's how we're going to eliminate the debt. And Musk said, well, it's going to happen through AI. But, there might be something you can do involving the Project Stargate with crypto. I was wondering about maybe doing a coin on that to where the government wouldn't really be involved. But in terms of the government creating a coin, this is actually legal. People say, no, you can't do it. No, it's a currency. You're not allowed to, the executive order that was signed, and the U.S. government would never do this because it's just, if you have a centralized digital currency, it is full blown dystopian because they could hypothetically restrict you from buying certain things. Like that's how bad it gets. But I do think people have to understand. I mean, the bank can also restrict you from taking out money, and they can cut off your credit cards. They can do that as well. But it is next level bad with the control that the government would have over a currency. That's why this would have to be decentralized, because they're not allowed to have it. But this isn't even a currency; it's a coin. Bitcoin is not a currency; it's a coin. It's a different thing. Like it's not a stable coin. The coin goes up and down. And then this would be best case scenario. Bitcoin, let's just say Bitcoin becomes the market cap of gold, which is 22 trillion. And then that would be 1.15 trillion worth of Bitcoin. So if we buy the 5%, this is if we buy it, because right now we only have 200K. We have like 1% of the supply. So if we buy 5% of the supply, then we would make, and Bitcoin becomes what the current market cap of gold is, we would make $1 trillion. That's, and by the way, that would probably take a decade. I mean, I don't know. You can't really predict it because who knows what happens with Bitcoin. That would take a decade, probably more. And that's only $1 trillion. So see how it's a spending problem when it comes to the debt. You're not going to solve it through Bitcoin. You're chasing your tail because there's not enough money in cryptocurrency to solve it. Or you could go really aggressive. Well, the investment would be, this is how you'd have to get it. You'd have to sell something or redistribute funds in a way to get it, because they said they're not printing more money to buy Bitcoin. So you have to sell gold, at least a little bit of it. And I put that net profit, $4 trillion over 20 years. I don't even know what that, I think that's based off of, that's based off of if these other coins do well. But even if these other coins do well, a lot of these coins don't have the market cap to facilitate $200 billion gain. It's just, we're talking about such an astronomical amount of money, like the debt. There's not enough money in cryptocurrency, even if you owned every Bitcoin in the world, which obviously they're never going to come close to. It's not going to. That's the thing. The U.S. should create their own Bitcoin, and then, well, the U.S. should, like, that's the whole thing with Trump and the tariffs. It's about trying to utilize U.S. strengths and force by proxy other countries to pay for. Well, you're not forcing other countries, to a degree you are, but it's like we're trying to find what the U.S. is best at, which is our consumer base, which is our military. How do we leverage that against other countries to extract money from them to pay for the debt? It's a hard thing to do. I thought about talking about the NATO tax, to where we force other countries to pay us, but the countries don't have enough money. We probably generate like $25 billion from a NATO tax. It's not nearly enough. But, and then you've got this more aggressive 50% I don't know what this is. 50% BTC versus 50% gold. Listen, let's just sell 50% of our gold and buy Bitcoin. But they would never do that. And then that would give us 18% of the supply of Bitcoin. But I mean, it is kind of dumb. You're buying, I mean, you can't really be buying at the top like this. You really are buying at the top. You really are. What's the all-time high market cap? 2.2? I guess people pay more attention to price. See, I always look at market cap. I never look at price. But I guess with Bitcoin, you can look at price because that's all anyone talks about. But when you're looking at coins, you want to look at the market cap. But it doesn't matter with this because there's no coins that are going to be dumped into the supply. With Trump's meme coin, there are, though. The thing with Trump's meme coin, he should just imagine if he said, you know what, I made $50 million off of this. I'm gonna buy Bitcoin for the United States with it. It's not gonna. I don't even think Trump can disclose how much money he's made off his meme coin. I said it's not a good thing. People say, well, you're this Trump supporter, but I said no. It's bad that he did that, and I admit it. And I said he probably shouldn't accept the Qatar plane. It's not a good idea. But that's more of a Boeing problem. He ordered the Boeing planes and they didn't come on time. I don't know what you want him to do. Listen, if we own 18% of the supply, we get 3.18 million, over 3 million Bitcoin. Let's just say Bitcoin goes to 30 trillion. We get $5.4 trillion worth. That's if we have 18% of the supply. Gold versus Bitcoin. Gold has vastly outperformed, Bitcoin has vastly outperformed gold. Now it's not a level playing field because if Bitcoin has a ton more room to growth, and it's had way more room to grow in the past because of its market cap on how low it is. If you have a coin that has way lower market cap, there's going to be the chance that it has a much more exponential growth pattern. But now that Bitcoin is at $2 trillion, will it still be able to outperform gold? Probably, but at a certain point it won't. So people love gold, boomers love gold, they don't want to sell any of the gold. But the gold has performed way worse than Bitcoin. And I understand, I get the discrepancy in terms of market cap, but let's just be honest, it's still a $20 trillion market cap discrepancy. So, I mean, because I think Bitcoin should be priced near what gold is. Eventually, it will be. It's just the market has to catch up to it. This is the digital variant that it can only be deflated. People keep finding gold every day, so technically its supply, it's always going to go up at a very slow rate, which is why gold is so stable. I agree. And I'm not trying to badmouth gold, but people are like, why don't we just sell some of the federal land and then do it? Because it's like if we have $1 trillion worth of federal land, but you have to be careful with that because you don't want to sell it to these you can't sell it to the Chinese, we know that. But they're talking about selling federal land maybe, and then you could buy crypto with it. But look, the thing about this is we just can't, it's just not going to happen. There's no way we're going to be able to eliminate this debt with crypto. I mean, unless something crazy happens to where we buy like 25% of BTC and it goes to $50 trillion. It would be by far the most valuable thing because right now gold has the highest market cap by far. Bitcoin is behind Nvidia. I think Bitcoin is still behind Microsoft, but they'll be priced out eventually. So Bitcoin will be the number 2 most valuable asset in terms of market cap. We know that's coming, but the question is, will it beat gold? How much will we invest into it? They're saying they're trying to get to 5%. Well, if they can at least get to 5%, it'll help. They're going to have to invest a lot if they want to get to 5%. Maybe they'll DCA into it. But if you DCA, you're probably DCAing into an all-time high because I think Bitcoin's going to do very well the next 5 or 6 months. Imagine they DCA the next year. But I mean, what else do? You obviously, they should have been DCAing. They should have set up an initiative in 2018, 2019, DCA. It doesn't even have to be much at all. DCA in 30 million a month. They should have set something like that up. Think about where we would be now. I think they probably did. They're not telling us. But I mean, how would you not say this is like the most valuable digital asset we've ever had? How is there not a thought by the government to maybe make sure we have coverage on this? But apparently they have 200K. So, if we can get to 5%, that would be great. 10% would be great. But I mean, I don't know how much they're going to be interested in selling gold for it. I mean, you could sell federal land and keep the gold, and then you'd have both assets. The thing is people don't want to sell gold because it's so stable, and it's actually a physical asset. With Bitcoin, it's all digital, and there's this fake fear-mongering now about quantum computing. It's not going to be able to... Bitcoin constantly is evolving its blockchain, so it'll safeguard against any quantum computers, but... Look, the thought here is we're not going to be able to do it. There's too much debt. It can't happen. We should buy Bitcoin, though, because we can make a lot off of Bitcoin. And Trump really should think about this as a legacy play, just like Greenland, just like Canada, the Panama Canal. You buy a bunch of Bitcoin, let it go. It's going to go way up. It'll go up. But the thing is we have seen some slower movement from Bitcoin when you look at the cycles. It's not surprising because as the market cap gets higher, it's harder, but the issue here is if you look at Bitcoin and its cycles, mainly I'll just do 2021 or 2017, 2021 and now. So, if you go back to 2017, it reached around 19 to 20K. So then it went from 20K. The cycle top in 2021 was like 70K, 20K to 70K. I mean, that's like a 4X. And so now it's gone from 70K to 110K. So maybe it goes to 200K or 150K, like a 3X. So see how, there is some concern with Bitcoin to where we go from a 5x to a 4x to a 3x as cycle tops. I mean, that is a problem. I mean, what they should have done is they should have bought a bunch when it was around 15,000 because it tanked down, but they were against crypto and they kept selling. I mean, the Biden administration said, yeah, we sold a bunch of it when it was around 15K because we got tired of it, and we're liberals and we're terrible at investing and this is what we do. And so that's the problem. But I mean, the point is that, look, whatever Bitcoin does, no matter how much we have, we're never paying. You have to stop spending. They really need to cut the entitlements. They have to cut the entitlements. They say there's $200 or $300 billion in fraud in the entitlements. I mean, if we have a $2 trillion deficit and $1 trillion is just servicing the debt, it's really a $1 trillion deficit. And there's 300 or 400 billion in fraud in Medicare alone. But the liberals don't want to cut it. They don't even want to cut the illegal benefits on Medicaid. So see, we're trying to work with these people. They won't do it. And they say, well, Trump's bringing the debt up and all this. And it's all crap. We're stimulating the economy. We're stimulating the market. Trump said he's bringing the deficit down. It's his number one thing. He said, this is all miscalculated. Look at the top experts. They say, no, this is going to be great for the deficit. It's going to decrease the deficit because of the amount of capital people are going to have. Now we're going to be hiring more people. We're going to have more money. We're going to invest more. You're going to have people with crypto investments. Now he's talking about possibly, I mean, I don't know about limit. We're not in the business of having less revenue here, but he's talking about maybe getting rid of the capital gains tax on crypto. That would just force more mass adoption of crypto. Imagine that. But I mean, I do think we are going to see multiple $1 trillion assets within crypto. Obviously Bitcoin, but then there's going to be a few others. That's why, whether it's Ethereum, which is, what is Ethereum right now? 314. What did Ethereum hit? Yeah, I mean, Ethereum has been really bad this cycle, man. This is not good. It's hard to really say that. It's hard to really advise an investment into Ethereum at this point. I mean, if Ethereum hits $500 billion and it can't, we're late in the game on this cycle. It's barely over 300 billion. This is and I've seen other older cryptocurrencies like Monero. It's a privacy coin. A lot of these coins tend to struggle their second, third, fourth cycle. Ethereum is really struggling though. And Ethereum has bad gas fees. I don't know. It's like the government, the government really can't do that, but I don't know. They need to create something to try and help with this and have like the freaking Saudi Arabia invest into it. Then we'll be able to eliminate it. Just make some type of crypto asset. Have the Gulf states invest into it. They'll dump like trillions into it, and then we'll be able to pay it off. And then have a burning mechanism and have a small tax on the microtransaction tax. And that's really what you have to do somehow. But I don't think the government can back it because we wouldn't have much control over it. But I'm not even talking about a currency like a stable coin, because countries have done that, but we're not. That would not be advisable for us because people would be too fearful, and rightfully so. You should never have a centralized digital currency. That's why they all came out against it, and then Trump signed the executive order against it because it's just way too much government control, or I guess potential government control if they ever want to utilize it. But yeah, that's basically the situation. I mean, I think best case scenario, if they get to 5%, I mean, maybe they can, but they'd have to sell it then. But I mean, the worth of it could be like they could make $1 trillion within 10 years probably. But how does that really help anything? If our deficit is $2 trillion a year, at that point it would be like, it'd be significantly more. At least that's what it's projected right now. Now they're going to bring it down, I think, but $1 trillion in 10 years is not going to do it. I mean, I think Bitcoin is something that the government should own, and it's going to outperform gold. So why not buy Bitcoin with gold? But I'm not saying to sell all the gold, but sell 10% of the gold to get to 5% of the supply, or sell 5% of the gold and then use other asset classes and sell them to buy the Bitcoin that are not performing nearly as well as Bitcoin. That's what I would do. Because you need to at least get to 5% of Bitcoin. But it's like, you'd think they would have already gotten to 5% of Bitcoin. I don't know. But either way, guys, make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.